Welcome back to the Spewak Training Podcast. We are 9 episodes in, and today we have a special treat for you. We have Dr. Dilan Patel and Noah Daum with us. We go through the athlete-coach relationship, and something that's exciting about this interview is that this is kind of the third part of Dylan's interviewing when he comes to podcasting world, because he actually did 2 episodes with our good friend Chuck Beckham on his podcast here not so long ago. And we had to steal that good energy and the positivity that Dylan brings to the table and put that in to our podcast so that you guys could be inspired by his message. So we're really excited to share this episode. We'll get started. All right, welcome back to the Spewak Training Podcast. Can you believe it's been 9 episodes of the Spewak Training Podcast, and we're really excited to bring on some fun guests today. We have Coach Noah Daum and his athlete, Spewak Training loyalist here, Dilan Patel. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mark. It's a real pleasure, and it's just nice to be featured and to be able to talk about our team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Been working with Dylan since, I think, 2023. So, working on 3 years here. So, Dylan's just been an awesome athlete to work with, and, really excited to talk a little bit about our story and the resilience behind it all.
And what's fun about this podcast is we obviously have the audio and you can listen to it, but you can also watch the video of our interview today on YouTube. And then actually when it's uploaded on Spotify, you can see it. And Dylan is... and just an amazing, his visual behind him is incredible. I believe it's Forest Park. Is that right?
It is.
That's behind you?
Yeah.
So for those of you that listen to the podcast that are not in St. Louis, it's not Forest Park, Oregon. It's actually Forest Park, St. Louis. But Forest Park is routinely rated the number 1 urban park in the country. And it's just an amazing organization. They have Forest Park Forever there, and you can see just the greenery in the background there. There's a free zoo, there's a free art museum, there's so many trails to run in and everything. So it's really fitting that Dylan's taking this call right in front of there. It's a good advertisement for them.
Yes, it's the best part of St. Louis.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And Dylan and I actually ran into each other this morning while I was out there with an athlete. He was out there walking near Art Hill, so it was a good start to this day. But I really first kind of wanted to start off with just the overview, of you two working together, because everybody has a story when it comes to how they found, Spewak Training and, how they get started with a running coach. And like Noah was saying, you guys got started in 2023. And I know when Dylan, you reached out to me, your background was you had actually been running. You had a running coach before. You understood the process and you knew the value of it. Could you share a little bit where you were kind of in, your state of fitness, when you initially made that decision to reach out?
Sure, absolutely. So I started working out really in middle school. I played golf. A lot of my friends were wrestlers. So there's always a culture, amongst kids in middle school to work out and train. And it's a pre-social media era. So all of us were out there. We had no other distractions, and people were fit. And you also don't want to be the scrawny kid. You want to be someone who's looking good and able to socialize and do stuff. So I started then, and then I played golf, and then I didn't play golf after high school. College, I didn't do much my first 2 years for studies, but then I wanted to get back into it, and I found a trainer in Nashville named Jonathan Schmidt, who became a great friend, and he helped me train for my first half marathon in Nashville in 2010. And then he was my trainer for years until we each moved away. So I moved and he moved. And I loved having an in-person trainer. So for years we had each other, and then for a long time I didn't. So, Mark, when I reached out to you, it just kind of hit me I was in a rut for a few years. I had done a few races, I've done 5 marathons so far, but I had not really improved, and my cross-training was stagnant. My ideas were stale, and probably I missed just having an in-person person. So when I reached out to you, set me up with Noah, and then later with Chuck. So it was a perfect 2-for-1 where I had my cross-training person, then Noah. And I guess what I really enjoy, just my friend and coach Jonathan, is that there's just real synergy and camaraderie and love that we have for each other. And we just hit it off immediately. So it hasn't even been a question. Ever since we got set up, it's been a great match. And I all as a client, I try to do is have a growth mindset and be a good client and learn from experts in the field.
Yeah, with Dylan specifically, you're hearing him talk about growth mindset, and whenever you talk to Dylan, I feel like I learn so much from you and just feel like motivated when I leave you. And we're going to get into him working with Chuck Beckham because those two are like a perfect pair when it comes to motivation. You guys could sit around even without like bourbon or anything and talk about, the inspiration of life and how to get the most out of each other. Just with exercise, that's the bond for them, which is incredible. But with Dylan, a lot of the time, people reach out to us and their goal is, hey, I want to run the Boston Marathon, or I want to break X time in this race. And your situation was unique because you saw the value in a coach, but at the same time, you were kind of dealing with injuries and needing to get onto a healthier path. Noah, can you kind of talk about that just kind of beginning phase and how working with Dylan has been different, but it's been obviously a very positive, rewarding experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since Dylan came on with the Spewak Training and working with me, not only has he been like a great listener whenever it comes to like working together with the training plans, but he's also been a master communicator as well. What I really like about having Dylan as an athlete is send our emails together and put our heads together and just be able to see how the week's going. I'll send a plan and he'll give some good thoughts and good feedback along the way. And not everything's going to work perfectly with the training plan. And whenever an athlete is willing to communicate and be a good steward of that and being able to respond well and let me know what's working or what's not working, that's just an awesome athlete coach relationship. We've got together early on and did some like form training and things like that in Forest Park, kind of like you were talking about earlier. And he's kind of overcome a lot of adversity, with some like running form and with some injuries and things along those lines. And the fact that he continues to persevere and we work together to form plans that work not only just what I want to give him to make him like the all-star athlete that I know he can be, but also to work with like what's going to work for him. That's kind of my goal out of the coach-athlete relationship with Dylan, is just to be able to continue to give him progress and just keep injury prevention at bay along the way.
Well, and so Noah, this kind of is a good segue into kind of talking about the strength training component, because people kind of think running training is you run and you get better, by running more. And it obviously, I know with Dylan and yourself, you guys knew that this was a need that you needed to fill that hole. Dylan had a really positive experience with a trainer in Nashville. When you got to St. Louis, you had the running piece, but you didn't have the strength piece just yet. But Noah, on yours, kind of on the side of, where you're sitting, just to kind of give our viewers a perspective from the coaching aspect of it, how did you feel like that decision came about of, encouraging Dylan to look for a trainer and what was important for you in that situation?
Yeah. Injury prevention was like a number one priority with it. And, with the Spewak racing team, I had been to Titanium Fitness and got to know Chuck just a little bit through, that avenue first. So whenever, Mark, you and I were talking a little bit about a potential strength training partner for Dylan, Chuck came first to mind. And, I think that I gave that recommendation to Dylan and, we kind of connected the dots with each other. And, Chuck is a great colleague to kind of compare notes with. And, pretty early on there, him and I were exchanging emails and messages just about like, I think Chuck like sent me an email that was like, Noah, thank you so much for sending Dylan my way. He's such a great athlete to work with and everything. But I think that what Chuck and I both admire about Dylan specifically is, the process, right? Like, we always say trust the process. We always say things about, being patient, things like that. But Dylan, I think that this might happen while you run, where you're thinking big picture. You're thinking a lot about, the process of running. You're thinking about, what it's doing for your life, both physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And, I think that kind of follows through with the strength training side. So, I think that's something that the three of us all kind of connect on in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. So Dylan, you get connected with Chuck, and I know that you were so excited to try something different, and get rolling. Can you share a little bit more about that experience?
I have a lot to say. When Noah connected me with Chuck, it was like just a perfect handshake. We just met and I was like, wow, this is what a perfect person. And Chuck is an amazing individual as a human being, and he is so just like you and Noah. It's the same kind of spirit and energy, like very kind, meeting you where you are. They're tough, but they're loving, and I feel lucky to have worked into Chuck's schedule because he's really busy and has a lot of clients. But he reminds me of my trainer, Jonathan, and to have that, I think, has really helped me. And I was just telling Noah before this, over the past 6 months especially, we started working out in 2024. I feel like I've made huge strides, and we've kind of hit a groove for both strength training, injury prevention, and also I think just mindset development. I remember there was a time last year when I wasn't going to the gym, like 3 or 4 times a week. I was kind of doing it more our once a week sessions, and Chuck gave me some feedback. I was like, Dylan, it'd be good to come in here more. And I like feedback. I like growth. I took it seriously, and I feel like it's kind of changed my life because I go every day no matter what. But it's just the process. I feel I'm glad that you recognize that, Noah, because I'm here for the long term. I want to be a good runner for my whole life, no matter however long that is. And I think it comes from identity of wanting to be my best self as a person. So like I feel I'm a physician, but deeper than that, I'm a writer. So to me, like words, sentences are the process. And then the same thing in the gym, it's like, reps, and then running, it's foot strikes. So I just want to get some good foot strikes in. I want to get some good strides and have good form. So that's kind of how I see it. And then the outcomes come later, but it's more just to appreciate like the growth in the process.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear you talk about the strength, aspect of things. And, I think what's really cool about, where Noah's at as a coach is his ability to recognize what other resources can be available for his athletes to continue to help them be the best version of themselves when it comes to running and health and happiness and everything else. And I feel like when you got connected with strength training, in the schedule with Chuck, and then started going more, your running took off.
Yes.
It's like we've seen more from you in terms of confidence with training. And like you said, you dealt with a lot of injuries before you got started with Noah. And a lot of it was to, build that confidence back. I remember our first call ever. I think your biggest hesitation, if I'm speaking for you, you let me know. But I think your biggest hesitation at the time was, I need somebody to understand, like, I'm coming off of this injury and I need to get back out there, but I need to do it safely. And then so Noah not only had the hindsight to be able to build your running, but then say, okay, let's bring in this strength piece. And in this past year, we've seen you, be able to run healthier and happier than you have ever before with us, at least, which has been really cool. And I have to imagine some of that was transpired in the gym.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's the strength training, it's the shin and calf exercises, the total body, the abs, everything, and the stretching too. So I feel like Chuck just has a good program, and we attack all elements of it. And I kind of see, I strive for like an attacking mindset. It's like, Dylan, what are you going to do in the gym today? Like, how are you going to like grow? Because no one can grow for you. Like, it's up to me to drive my progress, and I have all the tools to do it. Like, I have like the running coach, I have Noah, I have Chuck, and a great gym and a great park. So I'm the rate limiting step in my success. And I think that's all like a coach can do. It's like give you all the tools and then help you do it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. So as you guys know, the Market Mile is a big part of the Spewak Training and Spewak Racing community. This will be our 3rd year for this race. It is on Sunday, August 9th. We are really looking forward to bringing people downtown to celebrate the amazing city of St. Louis and our 4 nonprofit partners, which are Backstoppers, Boys and Girls Club, Peter and Paul Community Services, and Great Rivers Greenway. 1 mile, Keener Plaza to the Union Station. Huge party afterwards. 4 Hands sponsors with beer. We'll have Caldy's Coffee and several awesome vendors. So thanks so much for the support these last several years. And if you want to sign up, please visit marketmilestl.com. You can get registered today. Now back to the podcast. Yeah, what's so fun about being a running coach is that we have so many different stories, right, Noah? In terms of who you work with, and Noah's coaching everything from collegiate athletes, trying to help them get the most out of their college careers, to people like yourself, who your goal is, I want to do this, but I also want to do it for a very long time, and I want to be happy and healthy, and I want this to also be an added addition to the things that I'm doing in my life, so I can do those things better. And it's fun as coaches, because if you really love coaching, you really love doing these things. Like, it doesn't. I've always said this. Like, for us, it doesn't matter how fast somebody is in terms of what their goals are. We just love working with people who are dedicated, and then we love working towards something. And so your goal was a little different, because we weren't necessarily working towards that specific, marathon time, things like that. But with that said, like, in 2025, you ended up being able to at least go to Indy and do half of the race in that sense. And can you talk a little bit about like what that meant to you, preparing for that? And I'd love to kind of hear both of your perspective on that.
For sure. I had, prior to Indy even, I had done the Grandma's Marathon in June of last year. And that was the one, Mark, when I talked to you, I was in a boot and I wasn't able to do it. So I had committed. I was like hell bent, like, I'm going to do this race. And Noah helped me get to that point. And I ended up doing Grandma's, and it was really fun. It wasn't like my greatest ever race, but like, I'm proud that I did it and overcame it and was injury free during it. And then I wanted to do Indy because it's like our group, our team event. And I'm an oncologist. I'm a glass half full optimist. So, I didn't do the full. I wanted to do it, but we came up with the contingency plan, and I ended up doing the half. And I guess I'm still proud of myself because it wasn't ideal, but at least I did it, and it was the process of it. And Noah would just, I guess, unbelievably patient with me. Like, again, like, I feel like sometimes I must be a frustrating client because it's like, why are you injured? Or like, not that you would think that, but it's just like another nagging thing. But never once was there any like annoyance about it. It's like, okay, let's meet you where you are, and then we'll regroup, do training, after November, and get better for the next race, which is Chicago this year. So I think it was just really like, I guess as a client, like the kindness and like the collaboration, like the toughness and love together, that I think really helped me at least do part of the run, which I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think it was one of those situations where it's like, we were pushing and progressing, and I know that you were running a lot with like the Spewak racing team and stuff like that, just with different training partners, and there was a lot of excitement around the race because there were going to be teammates.
Yeah,
there was going to be really good energy at this race, and then just to have like a setback. I remember it was one of those times where I think like a week or two before, it was like let's get on the phone and chat about this moment, to where we were able to create that contingency plan and say, hey, like, let's defer this to doing a half marathon instead of a marathon, and making those adjustments to where it sets you up for not only like the best experience for yourself, but also like what makes sense in the moment, right? There's a lot of those times in running whenever you are you have to like come to terms with like, hey, like, training's not going exactly the way I want it to, or, it's going even better. And sometimes like, during the journey, you're going to find those answers along the way. And, just putting our heads together, we kind of came out with a plan that was able to, help us make that race the most successful possible. And I think that the experience went really well. And, it sounds like it was still a pretty good weekend, overall in the end of it all.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It's like, it's a team event. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It shows you what's possible, right? Like, you have that experience in Grandma's, and then you still get to participate in the way that you can. And you also see that it's not about a finish time. It's about the experience, and it's about what makes you feel good, and the fact that you're able to still be able there and bond with other people on something that you love. Those are memories that nobody can take away from you. And I think it's an important story to share, because we often obviously share the other stories, of we chase these times and chase these things and all these accolades, but we don't always necessarily take the time to really like appreciate what we're doing, what we are really loving about why we do this journey. And also, what's the motivation to keep going? Dilan sees 10, 15 years down the road, and he sees, oh my gosh, I can't wait to keep going with this, and I can't wait to be healthiest version myself. And I'm sure you're looking forward just to working out with Chuck on a random Thursday in January of 2032.
Yes.
And it's
I love it.
That's what scratches the itch for you. And that's not the case for everybody. And we get one life to live, and we have to live it the best that we can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Dilan, what is your motivation to really, have a coach? Because I think a lot of people would think, wash you doctor, somebody that's, super credible in terms of knowing a lot of things, what would be the value of somebody like yourself needing a coach?
Oh, that's a great question. I think part of it's like being a lifelong learner. Like the growth mindset's very like core to my identity. So we're always learning every day. So the purpose is to learn for the sake of it. Like the definition of a scholar, someone who learns in his or her free time. So the range of our expertise is very limited, and I work with such fortunately humble people that are experts in their field that consistently say, "I don't know." So it just shows they know everything about this field, everything, but if you're a forever learner, then there's always more you can learn. So I want someone who can push me and teach me new things, because this is not my area of expertise, and I like being mentored, and I like mentoring. So it's very consistent with like my goals of like learning, not being someone who knows, but like I can learn it if you teach me. And then I think it's just an infinite thing that I'd follow for the rest of my life. So I think Noah is a good teacher. I've really enjoyed that about our journey.
Yeah. And then, likewise as a coach, it's like I'm someone that only has a bachelor's degree, and, sometimes it can be intimidating coaching someone who is a doctor. But, I actually have a few athletes that, do have those degrees and are doing those fields. And, it's almost interesting just having the diverse perspective, between the both of us that, I learn a lot from Dylan. I feel like Dylan learns a lot from me, and, we kind of go away from that. And, I'm also consider myself a lifelong learner. Like I find myself more fulfilled in education settings. Like I've worked at universities and colleges the last, 5 years of my life, and really enjoy those settings. And, the fact that I get to be a coach for, people that have a different, career path and a different, education setting than me is just something that I feel like just makes it all that more fulfilling, and, really enjoy it.
For sure. It's interesting, like, as a side note, like when I talk to patients, like I say, I don't know frequently, because sometimes I don't know. And sometimes one of my colleagues may know, and I'll say, well, I'm going to ask our tumor board or lymphoma conference recommendations from our group. No one is ever upset about that. They're like, thanks for telling me you don't know. So it's never a bad thing. And it's actually very refreshing to know the limits of what you know and don't know. So I think running is just such a nuanced sport. It's very beautiful, and like there's never an end to like the amount of things that like you can grow from. So I think it's all the same mindset no matter the field.
Yeah. And, kind of building off that, it's pretty similar to, like the fact that we did plug Chuck into this, it's just another one that's like a content expert in that field.
Yes.
Where, we're able to kind of like put all three of our heads together and kind of build a plan together that, it's your perspective because it's your body and mind and everything. And then the two of us, with the running and the strength training, we kind of all work together to, whenever we have those I don't knows, at least we know someone who does, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Chuck does.
That's a great segue. So Dylan, one of the things that, really came about at this podcast, like we had this scheduled before I heard your episode with Chuck. But then once I heard your episode with Chuck, and we'll link, that episode so people can listen, he went on and Chuck's done an amazing job with his podcast. Very similar kind of what we're doing, email, listening to clients and being able to share their stories. Dylan's story was just so amazing to hear. And a lot of his interview, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but a lot of the interview was centered around what he does professionally and how that motivates him, but also makes him better in his career and better for his patients. So you're a doctor, you're at WashU, you're, helping people every single day. Can you just share a little bit about your experience in your career and kind of how the fitness is tied into that?
Absolutely. I like, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with like the purest mindset, like doing it for the sake of it. And I feel like, Mark, you're like that. You meet everyone where they are because you love running. Like the running is the purpose, and like everything else comes from that. So I think being a physician is such a gift, and I love my job, I love my career at WashU and Siteman, and a part of it is just our team. We have fantastic people we work with, and life is a team sport, so we have people of all levels, and my physicians and collaborators that help with patient care and research, and I think part of it is that the job changes us too. Like oncology is about like, it evokes death and dying and our finiteness on earth. So I feel like it's changed me and has basically made me like allergic to small talk and small things. Not that we don't have like, small things that happen, but it's just helped me reframe and appreciate like life. Like for example, today when I saw you like, walking, it's like when you were, with your client, I just felt so thankful to be out there, and it's easy to get caught up in stuff. We all have our own melodrama, but I try to just remember that everything is temporary, and everything we do helps. Like fitness helps us live the best life we can in the short time that we have here. So
no, that's a great perspective, and I want you to listen more to Chuck's episode with Dilan, because it covers a totally different kind of interview and information that we're talking about here. But once you hear both sides of Dilan, it really gives you the full picture of the human he is, and that's what's been so fun about Racing Team, been so fun about connecting through this podcast, because we only have limited interaction with our clients, really, when it comes to coaching. Like, Noah and Dilan have been working together since 2023, but we do it remotely, and so we really value these opportunities when we can hear more about what you do professionally. Like, for us, it's not just about coaching the person. Like, the more we learn about, oh my gosh, like Noah gets to coach this really, incredible doctor who has this amazing heart. I mean, we've all had physicians that don't necessarily feel like, that take that extra time with us. And, it's so good for people like you to be in that industry, to show, hey, this is the potential of what we can do for you. And this is why you should go see a doctor. This is why you should, seek this advice, because there are people like, Dr. Patel here who are willing, to put their best in the world, which is just fantastic. I want to take just the last, few minutes to talk about this, because we don't have the opportunity to be in person all together a lot. And I know separately, like with Noah, he's having a blast working with you, Dilan. I know you're saying, I wonder if, you feel like I'm wasting your time, things like that. And that couldn't be farther for the truth, for Noah, because Noah loves coaching, and he loves you, and he loves the experience. And we love having you, a part of this team, hence why you're on the podcast.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But
it's an honor. Yeah.
And I kind of said this to you, you might remember this, but we were in the gym a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember I kind of came up to you and I was like, you're working out so strong, so consistently every single day. Now don't be afraid on the run side, because you can do it.
I do remember that.
Do you remember that? Like,
I do remember that. Yeah.
I see you in the gym and I'm grinding. And I called Noah like that day, and I was like, dude, something's turned with Dilan. Like, I know he's ready. So we don't have this opportunity to talk like this very often. Noah, like, do you have any general just encouragement or anything you'd want to say just for Dilan while we're here together, kind of face to face?
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember that call well. And then, we've kind of touched on a few things in the last several moments. And, from the fact that, he is a busy doctor, that, we together have kind of formulated plans around the fact that he's walking a lot and doing a lot, like during his shifts and everything like that, to almost like incorporate that into the training plan. But yeah, I think Mark was like amazed in the way that you were lifting it, that he's like, dude, like this guy is absolutely so fit. Like, I don't know what you and Chuck are doing or however it goes, but he just was like, the way that you were doing it so intentionally, I think, just kind of goes to show, like, yeah, you are stronger than you realize, but also like more fit than you realize, in that, like, with proper, periodization whenever it comes to coaching, like, I think you've had like a really nice, block of training that is beneficial for a runner than a way that a lot of other runners don't have. And, now I think like we've got a really good opportunity to just build on that and, create a training plan that works to be able to, like get into some of the best days of running. Whenever I started coaching at Blackburn, I had a really good assistant coach that joined me. His name's Trey Kaplinski, and, he was in his 50s, and, he told me that he was at the gym one day and he had a conversation with like just a random guy that said, "Hey, do you love running?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love running." And he said, "Well, you need to stop running so hard every single day. You need to start swimming and cycling and doing all this stuff." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, that was the wake up call that I need." And, for you and I to talk a lot about kind of like the long-term goals that you have, the fact that you do want to be running in 15, 20 years, and, that you can go do like a 19-mile run in 20 years or something like that. I think that like you've built a really good like base of strength to be able to now kind of like, work together to build a training plan that's like, I can go and run, incredible times while also still following through on the commitment that you made to Chuck and to your strength training and just kind of like putting all the pieces together. I think it's just I think it's just a really exciting time, for you and I to work together to be able to continue to just like build on everything that we've already made progression on.
For sure. I appreciate that, Noah. It's like I got off the lottery for Chicago this year, which is, I'm thankful for it. But like, it's a small goal, but like, I feel like it's just a perfect year for it. It's like we have synergy and did the shin rehab, and it's a team run. So it's like, it's just a lot of positive things happening, flat run. And I'm just thankful for like, to be able to get foot strikes in. It's like an injury never makes you appreciate anything more than like, I just would love to get foot strikes in. I just want to hear like my foot on the pavement, and I want to be outside. It's just, I would do anything to get back to that. It's fun. So I think easing back into it, I think it's time to let it rip.
Yeah, it's incredible perspective, and it's been fun to kind of just go through the journey with you, Dylan. We'll have to have you on after Chicago, to discuss the success, because Dylan and I both will be in Chicago for the marathon this year. We're really looking forward to it. So thank you to you both for joining the podcast today. It's been absolute blast. If people want to follow your journey, do you have a social media channel or anything that you would encourage them to go to, Dylan?
I actually don't. I'm not on social media. But,
that's okay.
But yeah, I'm good at like, phone and text in person and stuff. Yeah.
And he's a doctor at WashU, so oncology department. Mm-hmm. So look for him. I mean, hopefully that's not something that you have to experience, but if you do know somebody that is in that situation, he would be a great resource.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Noah, you can follow him with Spewak Training. He's on our website. He's also a part of the Blackburn cross country track field programs. He's the head coach there too. So you can follow along at Blackburn College's athletics pages with cross country and track. And he has personal Noah on Instagram. He really kind of has it all. He's a very easy person to find.
Yeah. Yeah, no, try to keep myself open, noahdaum.com and at Noah_Daum on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And yeah, I guess last thing I'd say is like, if someone like Dylan, who's a busy doctor, all these different things, strength training is able to commit himself to something bigger than himself, anyone else can do it too, right? Like, that's kind of the main overarching thing I tell all my athletes is like, just buy in and commit to something bigger than yourself. And, the journey along the way is, just going to be an incredible one.
I love it. Well, thank you to you both. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we can't wait for people to hear this conversation and be inspired, and we'll see you in Chicago, Dylan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
That was a fantastic episode. I feel so just positive and so great about the conversation that we were able to have with Dr. Dilan Patel and Coach Noah Daum. They both just have such a strong relationship, and Dylan's story is just different when it comes to running because his goals have been centered around trying to stay healthy, get the most out of himself as a runner, and really think about the bigger picture, as we heard him talk a lot about. So as always, if you enjoy the episodes that we have on the Spewak Training Podcast, please do hit subscribe. We love to be able to share this message and all the episodes that we're doing with more people, and we always appreciate a review. And we just have a few exciting things coming up here. On May 23rd, we'd have the Dogwood Run, benefiting the Ollie Hinkle Heart Foundation. And then we have the Market Mile on Sunday, August 9th. So a lot of ways to get involved with Spewak Training, whether it's our podcast, it's our races for charity, or it is the coaching that we do. You always feel free to reach out for a free consultation. Call at contact@spewaktraining.com. So thanks so much, guys, and we can't wait for this episode to hit.